The house was silent, but not empty. Kyle stepped into the room with the warped door frame, the one the locals refused to speak about. Paint peeled from the walls like old skin, curling toward the cold floor. His flashlight flickered despite the fresh batteries, casting long, uncertain shadows across the floorboards. They called it the portal room. The air was colder here, wrong somehow. Not a draft, but a pressure. Heavy, sullen. The silence had weight, like sound had been drained away and replaced with a humming tension just below the edge of hearing. Kyle raised the camera, peering through the lens. That's when he noticed it. The lines on the wall. They weren't cracks. They were symbols, carved into the plaster with obsessive precision. Circles within circles, spirals, eyes, things that shouldn't have made sense, yet did. Deep down, they felt right. Familiar, like something buried in the marrow of his bones. He took a step closer. Something shifted. The wall rippled. Not like water, but like skin recoiling from a wound. The symbols moved just slightly, aligning into a pattern that hadn't been there seconds before. And then, the hum grew louder. Still not a sound, exactly, but a pressure building behind his eyes. Kyle turned to leave. The door had closed behind him. He hadn't touched it. He lunged, twisting the knob. It didn't move. The camera slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor, skidding into the corner, where something black and thin pulled back into the shadows just out of sight. He wasn't alone. The light dimmed. Not the bulb, the very light itself. As if the room was retreating from reality. Then the sound. A low, wet breathing. And something stepped forward from the wall. Not through it, out of it. Like the wall was shedding it. A shape made of shadows and wrong angles. Tall and twitching, faceless yet staring straight into him. Kyle screamed, but no sound escaped. The portal room had opened, and something had answered. Rain clung to the windows like dirty gauze as Kyle adjusted the tripod. The flat smelled of mildew and forgotten medicine. Mrs. Moretti sat slumped in a floral armchair, wrapped in a blanket that looked too heavy for summer. Her eyes flicked nervously between Kyle and the corners of the room, as though something might crawl out at any moment. "You've been in the room," she whispered, voice cracking. "Haven't you?" Kyle hesitated. He nodded. "You saw it. You felt it." Her lips twitched upward in a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Then it's already started." Kyle pressed record. "What was it exactly?" he asked. Her hands trembled as she lifted a chipped mug to her lips. She didn't drink, just stared into the dark tea like it held answers. It wasn't just a cult. We weren't brainwashed. We saw things Sister Catherine brought back from the black places. From the thresholds. Her voice dropped lower. There were rooms that bled, doors that opened to nowhere. And that room, the one you were in, it's alive. It calls to the ones who've seen too much. Kyle shifted, uncomfortable, behind Mrs. Moretti. The shadows in the hallway seemed to stretch longer than they should have. He checked the monitor. Static twitched across the image. That room, it wasn't just a gateway. She leaned forward, her voice urgent now. It was a trap. There was a sound, something sharp like nails on wood, from the hallway. Kyle froze. Mrs. Moretti didn't flinch. "It comes back sometimes," she said. "To see who remembers. To see who's still talking." Kyle glanced over his shoulder. The hallway was empty. When he turned back, Mrs. Moretti's expression had changed. Her eyes were wide, her lips moving silently. "Kyle," she mouthed, "behind you." The camera glitched violently. Frame after frame blurred. In one flicker, something stood in the doorway, tall, faceless, cloaked in twitching shadow. The lights dimmed. The heater clicked off. Everything stopped. Mrs. Moretti screamed, not with fear but fury. She lunged for the crucifix on the wall and threw it across the room. The thing vanished. The shadows retracted like spilled ink being sucked backward, and the house fell silent again. "I told you," she gasped. "Once you've been in, it follows." The footage shouldn't have shown anything. The room had been empty when Kyle filmed it. Barren, save for dust, rot, and strange markings. But when he sat down to review the SD card that night, something was wrong. The first few minutes played as expected. Slow pans of the room, close-ups of the symbols etched into the walls, the warped doorway. But at minute 6, the image stuttered. For a single frame, too fast for the eye, a dark figure flickered into view in the far left corner. Kyle paused the footage, rewound. Frame by frame, he advanced. There was one frame, almost subliminal, a figure tall and gaunt, its head slightly cocked, its limbs too long, its fingers grazing the floor. No face, just darkness where features should be. It hadn't been in the room, and yet the camera had seen it. His hands trembled as he continued. More frames flickered with distortions. Not just glitches, something inside the static. Blinking eyes, a twisted grin, symbols spiraling faster than the human I could follow. Then came the audio, a low moan, stretched, warped, almost mechanical. Then whispers, dozens, layered, overlapping, speaking his name. Kyle, Kyle, Kyle. It wasn't part of the original recording. He hadn't said anything. There had been no sound in the room. Now, the footage pulsed with static. The video broke apart, blacks and whites bleeding into each other. In the last clear frame, just before the screen went black, Kyle saw his own face on camera. Except he wasn't behind the lens. The video ended. Silence filled the edit room like smoke. Then the screen flickered once more. Just a flash. A single line of text appeared. You opened the door. We remember. Kyle yanked the power cord from the wall. The monitor went dead. From somewhere behind him, in the quiet darkness of his apartment, came a slow, deliberate knock. Once, twice, 3 times. He turned. There was no one at the door. Just the sound of faint breathing from the other side of the wall.